All right, welcome to our series. I'm so excited for this series. It is called Your 5 Lessons That 2025 Tried to Teach You, right? So I wanted to start the year off strong, especially since I am coming off of surgery, which means I have had lots of time to reflect and think as compared to do and do, which means y'all get to hear all of my thoughts, all of the things that I have been thinking about, researching, etc. It is going to come up over the next, I don't know, 82 podcasts. Okay. So this is part one of our series, right? And here's why we're doing this. We all have goals, okay? Personal goals, business goals, money goals, family goals, health goals, whatever they may be, right? But the sad reality is that most people will not reach those goals, right? They just won't, right? And while there are many reasons that contribute to us not reaching our goals, the biggest one is that we simply don't learn the lessons that life is trying to teach us, right? Most of the things that we encounter in terms of challenges, problems, self-sabotage, etc., are not new things, right? The problem is human beings are very avoidant people, right? We like to push through, we like to push things down, we like to push things away, right? That's where we get scrolling and eating and buying and et cetera, right? And because we are naturally avoidant people for the most part, even when we are working hard at the wrong things. Okay. So most of what stops us is not new. It's not unexpected. Are there new and unexpected things that will happen, right? In 2026? Are there new things or unexpected things that happen in 2025? Yes. But those things didn't actually have to stop us. Those things don't have to stop us. They can, but they're simply just not the biggest reason. Okay. And then as a result, we end up living the same year 5 times rather than actually living 5 years. Right. So if we actually learned the lessons, we could eliminate many of the negative consequences. So that is why we are doing this series, because we don't need more information, friend. We do not. We don't need more information. We need to learn the lesson that it was already trying to teach us. Okay. Also, before I jump straight in, if you hear something in this series or at any point that you're listening to the podcast, not just this series, if you want to share, takeaways or thoughts or, ooh, this got me together. Ooh, this was a good word, whatever. Use the hashtag the couch, right? Which is, the name of our podcast, obviously. And every month we offer free coaching and reduced coaching, one of each. Now, as we get more and more people using the hashtag, then we'll do more than one. But for now, we're just wanting to get it rolling, right? And one of the reasons why we're doing this is because when you are a creator, right? You are a writer, video, whatever form of creation that you do, right? It's encouraging to have people pull out the takeaways, to know what resonated with creating. Right. So if I'm gonna keep doing this podcast, I always like it when people inbox me um and be like, girl, I listened to, such and such episode, such and such, and it really got on my nerves. Thank you. Right. It could be just that simple. So use the hashtag, uh, enter yourself for a chance to win free coaching and or reduce coaching. All right. And just as an FYI, do that on Facebook, right? We are not checking all the platforms. As we grow, we may or, may not add other platforms. But for now, this is just on Facebook. Okay. All right, let's jump into it. Let's do it. Here we go. So, as I mentioned, this series is really designed to help you fix the things that are already broken, not the new things, right? One of the things that I have come to not just be aware of because I kind of knew, but fully accept and fully embrace is that number one, I can see things that you can't see, right? One of the things that my clients told me repeatedly in 2025 is that I often come to you thinking I have one problem and it turns out I have another problem, right? And all that means is that I get to the root of things, not the surface thing, right? And because I can see the thing differently than you can see it, I count that as a gift, right? Because that's one of the things that helps my clients move forward. The other part of that is I'm also a very direct communicator, right? Which it just means I'm gonna say shit that other people are not gonna say. Now, usually I'm saying it to my clients and not in my marketing, right? That's one of the adjustments that I'm making in this 2026 year. If this is, depending on the time that you're catching this, is just showing up differently publicly rather than just being all behind the scenes. Okay. And just as a plug, these are really two reasons why you should be hiring me, right? All of us need people in our lives that do not support our shenanigans. Okay. We all need people who make the parts of us that are dysfunctional uncomfortable. Like we all need that. And that's what my gift does. It reminds you. Did you say you was gonna stop doing that? Because it feels like I'm pretty sure you told me you was gonna stop doing that. Yeah, but I don't. I feel like we should stop doing that then. Because whatever you say, I'm with whatever you say, and that's what you told me. Like you need more of that, and the reason why we all need that is because our brain is actively working against us. Right, our brain is constantly sabotaging us because it is wired for survival, not success. Right, it is geared towards keeping you safe, right? Which is why we make so many decisions that actually don't get us to the result that we want because our brains are making decisions for safety. But what we're actually striving for is success, not just safety. We want to feel safe, but we don't want to optimize for safety, right? Okay, so, but until you decide to hire me, I'm here. The podcast is here to support you, okay? All right, so lesson number one, let's jump into this is one of five, and I'm already thinking about doing a sixth because it was really hard to narrow down on 5, if I was honest, right? I really, really could have done 25 lessons for 2025, but who finna do 25 podcasts? It's not me. I'm not finna do 25 podcasts. So y'all gonna get these 5 and maybe a sixth, okay? So, lesson number 1, evolve, don't pivot. Okay, let me explain what I mean here. Pivoting is normal. Pivoting is needed. Okay. So let me just put that disclaimer out here. We all do it. I've done it. Right. So this is not a either or scenario. Okay. But the challenge with pivoting is that every time you pivot, you lose a level of momentum. Okay. Every single time. Now, sometimes it's just a little bit of momentum. Sometimes it's a lot of momentum. Right. But momentum is one of those things that we want to, man, it's like a superpower. We do not want to have to rebuild momentum. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort to get that ball rolling again. Once we get it rolling, we want to keep it rolling, and we don't want to have to pivot very frequently. Okay? The other thing is that the entire reason why we pivot is because we want to get closer to the thing that we desire. Oh, I'm going to change my prices because I want to make more money. Oh, I'm going to change my offer. I'm going to change my marketing. I'm going to include this habit, whatever. We're doing that so we can get closer to the things that we want. But pivoting is not the goal, it's the process. And somehow we've turned it into this thing that we're doing repeatedly, right? The goal actually is elevation. The goal is to actually evolve. Right? Pivoting is about like doing the next thing, and all evolving is about your next level. That's what I want you to hear. So often we turn something that was supposed to be a season into a cycle, right? And one of the things that I saw in 2025 was pivoting was not happening occasionally, right? Because that's how it's designed to be. Oh, yeah, there are going to be times where we pivot, fair. But it was not happening occasionally in 2025. It was also not happening for the right reasons, right? We're not evolving or we're not pivoting based on data. We're pivoting based on feelings, right? And so when it is happening frequently, and when I say frequently, because sometimes people are like, oh, I only change my offers 3 times this year. First of all, that's a lot. Never mind. Okay. That's a lot. But I'm not just talking about, one domain. Maybe I only pivoted my offers once this year, but I pivoted my marketing strategy 4 times. Right? When I say pivoting, I mean across all domains, both personal and professional, right? How many times did we change our offers? How many times did we change team, pricing, messaging, marketing, sales, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? When you look at all of that for 2025, that's a lot. Did we need to pivot in 2025? Probably, right? There are a lot of things that happen that are, changes in the economy and et cetera, and industries and whatnot. But again, did we need to pivot 87 things? You be the judge. And I would also venture to say that if we had learned some of the lessons that 2024 was trying to teach us, we would not have needed to do so many pivots in 2025. But I digress. Okay. And so the two things that I saw in 2025 is that there was a lot of pivoting, and it was not all due just to, economy and industry changes, right? It was emotional. It was not data driven. The second thing that I saw a lot of is that a lot of times when people were pivoting, it was a lateral move. It wasn't an elevation. They weren't closer to the thing that they desired. They pivoted their pricing, their messaging, their offers, their platforms, their whatever, and they still got inconsistent revenue. They still burnt out. They still so that means something is going wrong. Okay. And so it's like, well, why is this happening? Why has pivoting become a way of life and evolution or evolving is much more rare? And it's because, essentially, when we're pivoting frequently, it's a sign that there's a lack of clarity. Right now, either the lack of clarity could be in yourself, right? Maybe you're not sure about, where you're going, right? You're not sure about what you want. A lot of times we're so busy that we kind of think we know or we have a certain level of awareness, but we're not aware enough. We're not clear enough, right? This is a big one. A lot of times people are doing a lot of things, but I'm like, sis, what we building though? Like, where we going? Why are we doing this? So sometimes the lack of clarity is within yourself, but sometimes it's like, oh, I personally know exactly what I want and where I'm going, but the lack of clarity is in the business, right? Maybe it's in your marketing, maybe it's in your sales process, maybe it's in your messaging, maybe it's in, et cetera, right? Here's the warning that I want to give you. The internet will tell you consistency, consistency, consistency. The number of posts, the number of declarations that I saw on Facebook where people say you don't have blank problem, you have a consistency problem. You don't have blank problem, you have an execution problem. And I just disagree. I'm be honest with you. Like I just feel like you really don't have a consistency problem. Now, could you be doing more of the right thing? Sure. But that's not the primary problem you have. You already executing. You already spending 20, 30, 40, 50, 72 hours on the business. Do we really have an execution problem? Or is that a surface level problem? The challenge is that the Western society loves speed. It loves for you to just be doing stuff all the time. But what people do not mention when they talk about this consistency, execution, is that consistency is not the most effective way for you to find clarity. Like, that's what I want you to hear. It is not by far not the most effective way to find clarity. This whole jump and build the plane on your way down ends up turning into things like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And it's like there's a thin line there. There is a level of execution that is needed in order for you to be clear, right? I think that's what people intend to mean when they say they just don't tell you the whole message. They like sound bites, right? So there is a level of consistency, right, or effort that is required for you to have clarity. But here's what I want you to hear, okay? Because could you possibly, right, be consistent for 6 months or 6 years and get clear? Sure. Sure, you could do it that way. But you could also get that same level of clarity in a day, in a weekend. Like if you were asked the right questions, if you were being more strategic, like it really doesn't take all of that to get clear, but we're trying to use the wrong thing to solve the wrong problem. And what I mean by that is we think we have an execution problem. And so we go off and we try to find productivity hacks and we try to push ourselves. But we don't have an execution problem. We have a clarity problem. And clarity is not solved primarily through execution. Yes, execution is one way, but it is not the primary method, friend. Okay. So here's my suggestion to you. When I say evolve, one of the best things that you can do for yourself is to evaluate your level of clarity, right? Because clarity is not binary. It's not that I'm clear or I'm not clear. It is to what degree am I clear? This is also what we miss when we have the audience or avatar conversation, right? If you get into any kind of business program, one of the things that they're going to ask you about is your avatar, right? Who's your ideal client, right? And all of us are seasoned entrepreneurs. We know how to answer that question, right? But the thing I want you to hear is to what degree are you clear? Are you clear on the things that matter most, right? So when I talk about evaluating your level of clarity on the personal side, it looks like how clear are you about what you want? How clear are you about where you're going? How clear are you about your gifts, right? The things that you're good at, the things that you're not good at, et cetera, et cetera. We can keep going down this list. On the business side, it's like, well, how clear am I about my marketing strategy? How am I clear? How clear am I about my offers, my messaging, the best platform for me, my strategy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm talking about the quick version, right? Just rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I'm 100% clear. Okay. If you just did this one thing, it would help you get out of avoidance and off of autopilot. It would help you be far more honest with yourself about where you're at. This also gives you a blueprint. When you are not clear about something, you know where you need to focus your attention. Okay. It helps you manage your expectations. It helps you know where to invest your time, your energy, your money. And maybe the biggest one is that it helps you know what you need to accept. Like, this is the key. So let me give you an example of what I mean. Let's say I've rated myself and I'm like, oh, I'm not clear on, how to position my offer in a way that's enticing to my ideal client, right? So that's like a messaging problem. Maybe I rated myself lower in that area. Okay. If I fully accepted that, then I should not be frustrated that my marketing is not working. And let me say it differently. I can be frustrated, right? I can be annoyed, but like for what? I already knew I wasn't clear. I already knew that my offer wasn't positioned very well. Like I already knew that. So I could keep beating myself up or I could fix the problem. But because we won't be honest with ourselves, what we do is we just keep pushing content. We just keep pushing content. We just keep doing the thing. And it's like, yeah, but you're not positioning your offer very well. So why are we going to keep pushing content at this level without fixing the problem? I'm not suggesting that you stop pushing content. What I am saying is that let's not go all in on content and not actually solve the problems that we see, which is, oh, I'm not really good. I'm not really sure how to position my offer, or I'm not really sure about what I want, right? I'm not really sure how to develop this habit that I know I need to develop. Okay. Oftentimes we say that X, Y, and Z doesn't work. Fill in the blank with whatever personal thing you're trying to do or business thing that you're trying to do. But it's not that it doesn't work. It's that you don't yet have the skills to make it work. And 2026 is asking that you step into your next level of leadership, not move from one thing to the next. Because when you move one thing to the next, whether it's marketing, sales, offer, pricing, messaging, etc., people don't trust you as much. Like your audience is not going to trust you nearly as much when you are changing things all the time. Okay. So this requires courage more than it requires competence, more than it requires commitment, more than it requires all these other things. All those other things are nice to have. But one of the things that I have had a conversation with my clients about at the top of the year was this year is going to require that you be more courageous than you ever been. Because this is we have a very goal oriented program. So I understand what everybody's goals are, what they're reaching for, and it is going to demand a different version of them. And mostly that is about courage. It is not about competence. We are often leaning on our expertise, right? Because most of the clients that I serve are experts in their craft, right? And so they're often leaning on their expertise when what is actually necessary is their courage. Okay. So in order for you to evolve and not pivot, it requires courage. It then requires clarity. It then requires acceptance. Okay. And you know that if you need help with any of the things that we talk about today, any of the things that we talk about throughout this series, or really anything on the podcast, period, we are here to support you. Okay. So DM me if you need support with anything. But even if you don't, like, even if you don't reach out to me, at the very least, assess where you are evolving versus where you are pivoting.